this is Mad Movie Mark of the Mad Movie Mark Movie Review. Thank you for joining me as I review the 1940 romantic comedy, The Philadelphia Story.
I can't tell you how extremely sorry I am to hear that.
Hey, wait a minute. That's not fair. This is going to be a great review. This is part of a series where I'm reviewing all the movies that have 100% fresh rating on Rotten Tomatoes. I'll give them all a score of 1 to 10. After I watch them and score them, I will rate them from worst to best. I started in the 1920 silent movie era, and now I'm at 1940s with The Philadelphia Story. So this movie has just a star-studded cast. It stars Cary Grant as Dax, James Stewart as Mike, and Katherine Hepburn as Tracy Lord. James Stewart is my favorite actor of all time. So I will first summarize the movie, kind of tell you what happens. I will let you know if I think James Stewart deserved the Academy Award for this, and then just my general opinions about the movie. So this movie revolves around Tracy Lord. She is a rich heiress who has, in the beginning of the movie, just broken up with her husband, Dax. They have a very tumultuous relationship. When we first see them, they're very angered at each other, and parting ways is probably the best for them.
His most sensational achievement.
Tracy Lord. Big game hunting in Africa, fox hunting in Pennsylvania. Married on impulse and divorced in a rage. And always unapproachable by the press.
If we fast forward 2 years into the future, Tracy Lord is now engaged and is prepared to get married in a couple days to a new fiancé. This new fiancé is currently climbing up kind of the ladder of success politically and financially. He was born poor. He was kind of a coal miner, and now he has seen a lot of success, and he's married into this rich family, and he really wants to, be that kind of rich person who people admire, people adore. He wants to be in the tabloids. He wants people to really kind of know that he's rich and know what position he's in. Tracy Lord is exactly the opposite. She does not believe that cameras should be allowed in her home. She does not believe that paparazzi should be following her. She wants to kind of remain rich, but also remain private. So then enters James Stewart into the mix. He is a writer and member of the press for Spy magazine. He is joined by a female who is the camera person, who is the photographer for Spy magazine. They are told that they will be entering the Lord residence. Dax has come back into the scene. He is going to, during the wedding, he is going to get them access to the wedding, press access, and he is going to basically blackmail the family to let him in. Basically, Tracy Lord's father is a bit of a cheater. He fools around with other women, and it is big news that he had an affair on with his wife, and the newspaper will not publish this if they are allowed to get into the wedding and take pictures of the wedding, be the only members of the press at the wedding, and they're able to capture this big event. So they are essentially blackmailing the family in order to do this. James Stewart really wants nothing to do with this. He does not feel that this is up to his standards. He feels like he is a big member of the press, and this isn't something that he should really be covering, but he ends up doing it anyway. They go to the house along with Dax, and Dax just kind of shows up before the wedding. He was the former husband, and now they're divorced, and he shows up, and this little girl who is part of the family, she's overjoyed because she loves Dax and she loves that he's there, but everyone else kind of doesn't want him there, and you can see why they wouldn't want the ex-husband there unannounced and uninvited.
Dinah, my dream girl.
What in the name of... Oh, no, it can't be.
They eventually tell Tracy Lord why James Stewart's character is there. Why James Stewart's character Mike is there. She is furious by this. She doesn't want any of the press there, but she understands why this has to happen. She also doesn't want news about her father leaked out. So they allow Dax and they allow Mike and the camera person to be there and kind of have their run of the place, as they wish, just kind of look around and do things, which is kind of funny to me because Dax's character doesn't seem like he's doing a lot throughout this movie. He's just kind of there, and he's just kind of roaming around. That he still has feelings for Tracy Lord, but I guess it's like a slow burn learning that he still has feelings for Tracy Lord, but I didn't really understand that till the very end when something kind of, to me, shocking happens. But anyway, So they are, mingling together, having a good time. Tracy Lord really despises the press until she goes to the library and she ends up reading a book that Mike wrote. And she says, wow, this is an amazing book. I can't believe someone like you could have written this. And he's like, well, why not? Like, I'm a writer. I can write this kind of stuff.
Thing, you know what happens to girls like you when they read books like mine. They begin to think. That's bad.
These stories are beautiful. Why, Connor, they're almost poetry.
Well, don't kid yourself. They are.
I can't make you out at all now.
And then this is kind of the point where Tracy Lord starts falling in love with Mike, and he starts having feelings for her as well. But her love for him is kind of like a 180 turn, where she hates him and then she immediately kind of loves him because of the deeper person that he is.
It's really all I am to you, is it?
Of course, Professor.
Are you sure?
Why, yes, of course. Golly.
He's not rich, but he has more substance than most people she knows can offer. So they start falling in love with each other. We realize later on that Tracy Lord's dad ends up coming to town, and she confronts him and says, this is basically all your fault that our family is being succumbed to this because you cheat and you shouldn't be doing that. And he goes on this really ridiculous speech about how his cheating is actually his daughter's fault because a man needs a daughter in his life to keep him youthful and to keep him young. And she ran away from them at a young age because she didn't like him. And because he doesn't have a daughter to keep him youthful in his life, then he needs to find that from younger women who are not his wife.
What to do with them?
Oh? Then what has it to do with?
A reluctance to grow old, I think. I suppose the best mainstay a man can have as he gets along in years is a daughter. The right kind of daughter.
How sweet.
No, I'm talking seriously about something I've thought over thoroughly. I've had to. I think a devoted young girl gives a man the illusion that youth is still his.
So he needs to go out and seek the love of other women because he needs to feel like he's young and masculine and he can still go out there and seize the day and do things, which is a bit ridiculous. So the movie continues on. The love between Mike and Tracy Lord towards the end of the movie really becomes stronger. We learn that Mike is a bit of a drunk.
I'm used to whiskey. Whiskey's a slap on the back and champagne's heavy mist before my eyes.
He drinks all the time, but Tracy Lord is not a heavy drinker. But at a party, they end up getting drunk together. They share a kiss with each other. And then at the end of the night, he ends up carrying her to her room, and her new husband sees this. She wakes up in the morning and, she kind of is blinded by the sun when she walks out the door because she has a hangover.
Oh, the bride.
Tracy?
This is a great acting performance by her, but not the best acting performance I've ever seen of someone getting light shone in their eye. That goes to Halloween Town.
It's working!
But anyway, so the new husband sees that she might have been fooling around a bit. He gets angry. He demands that he knows what happened. She doesn't remember what happens the next day because she did this all in kind of a drunken stupor. So Mike ends up explaining what happened that night, and it wasn't all that, it wasn't as bad as it looks. And then this is a bit of a spoiler. At the end of the movie, Tracy Lord realizes that she doesn't love her new fiancé and that she's going to break off the marriage. And then James Stewart says, since we're all here, why don't you and I get married? And she says, no, that's not a great idea because you are your photographer loves you, and I don't think she would like that very much if I married you. So then Dax says, hey, while we're still here, why don't we get married? That's my Cary Grant impersonation, but it's not very good. And she says, yeah, why not? Let's get married again. So they end up getting married again, and they once again become husband and wife. And that's basically the plot of the movie. So let me first deal with James Stewart. He is my favorite actor of all time. I don't really believe that he deserved Best Actor for this movie, especially since I saw Henry Fonda in The Grapes of Wrath, and this is from the same year. Now, James Stewart also said that he didn't deserve Best Actor, that he thought Henry Fonda deserved it, and I agree with him. I thought he deserved it for Mr. Smith Goes to Washington. Many believe that the Academy gave it to him for this movie because they felt that he was robbed of it for Mr. Smith Goes to Washington. During 1939, Goodbye Mr. Chips, Robert did not want instead of James Stewart. I've never seen Goodbye Mr. Chips, so I don't know if that was something that is justified or not, but I definitely don't believe he deserved Best Actor for this movie. And also, my theory of why he won Best Actor for this movie is because he's drunk throughout most of the movie. And the Academy, at least during this period, and the history of the Academy, really rewards actors who play drunks, and they love to bestow upon them awards as if like acting like a drunkard is a acting pinnacle. The pinnacle of acting is to be able to act like you're completely smashed. So I think that that's one of the reasons why he won. I know it's a ridiculous reason, but if you look through the history, you're going to agree with me. A lot of people who act like drunks win Academy Awards. So this is not my favorite James Stewart movie. It's not even my favorite Cary Grant movie. Now, if you have heard me review other Cary Grant movies, you know I'm not a huge fan of him. I thought he was really good in Only Angels Have Wings. I loved him in North by Northwest, but everything else, he just kind of plays a flat character. I don't think he has great acting chops, and I don't think I ever will. Katherine Hepburn is amazing. She kind of plays almost the same role in this movie that she played in Holiday that I reviewed as well. But she has a great acting range. For some reason, she was considered box office poison back then, and Cary Grant ended up getting top billing for this movie, which I think is a bit ridiculous. Out of the three, I think he's the worst actor of all three of them. But this movie... so the dialogue is really fantastic. There's a lot of quick dialogue. It's really witty. James Stewart has a lot of funny lines in it. Cary Grant has a lot of funny lines. But it's just not my kind of movie, to be perfectly honest. I think it's a bit of a... I mean, even though the lines are punchy, the action and the story just moves along fairly slowly for me. To be perfectly honest, Katherine Hepburn is treated very poorly by basically everyone here. Cary Grant treats her like crap. Her dad treats her like crap. I guess James Stewart's the only one who really treats her with any decency. But I just don't like a female who's kind of like just beaten to the ground the whole movie, and she doesn't really come into her own. She doesn't really stand up to anyone. It seems like she just kind of takes it. And also the subject material for this movie, for me, is not my favorite. I'm not a huge fan of kind of watching rich people be rich.
Did you enjoy the party?
Sure. The prettiest sight in this fine, pretty world is the privileged class enjoying its privileges.
You're a snob.
Even though there's a lot of dichotomies in this movie, there's a lot of stuff going on. I don't know. It just doesn't work for me as much as other movies work for me. There's not a lot of stuff that happens really, but for me, the acting doesn't really save it. The story isn't that well developed. The story is well developed, but it's not unique enough for me. Even prior movies before this, during this time, I feel like they used this kind of setup where, someone's in a relationship, they meet someone else, they end up falling in love with someone else, and then the relationship that they're in ends. I've seen this done so many times, and this just isn't unique enough for me. It's just not something that I'll watch over and over again. Honestly, I had a hard time getting through it this time. I've seen part of it before, but I ended up stopped watching it, and then I took a 2-week hiatus from doing movie reviews because I just didn't want to finish this one. Even though the acting is fantastic, it's a slog for me of a movie. The men are terrible, especially her father, and there's not a lot of redeemableness to this movie at all. And then at the end, when she ends up remarrying Dax, I just don't understand that. I guess you're supposed to see through their dialogue throughout the movie that maybe they still have feelings for each other, but I never felt like the feelings were strong enough for them to get married again. If anything, I thought she would end up with Mike. I can see why she didn't end up with Mike, but did Mike really have feelings for the photographer? Like, yeah, sure, the photographer had feelings for him, but you never get the idea throughout the movie that they were going to be together. So why would you tell him no based on movie feelings that she has? It just doesn't make sense to me. The ending just seems like they couldn't think of something, so they just said, let's do this. But I feel really bad saying this because I love James Stewart. I love Katherine Hepburn. But this movie just didn't do it for me. And out of a 10, I will give it a 7.5 out of 10. Thank you. The next movie I will be reviewing will be Pinocchio. Hope you have a good day.